What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about Sean Baker's newest movie, and I'm kicking myself at the fact that it took me this long to watch this movie. I've been wanting to see it for weeks now, but you know how life goes. Sometimes things get crazy, and you just don't get to push things to the front of your watch list. But Sean Baker, throughout the years, has become one of my favorite working filmmakers. I remember the first movie of Sean's that I saw was Tangerine, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I thought that it was really well made and innovative, and I haven't revisited it over the years, and I've really been wanting to. But after that, I watched The Florida Project, which I think is an absolute masterpiece. Red Rocket is absolutely incredible. And then I went back and revisited his film Starlet, which I thought was just amazing. And what impresses me about Sean is the way that he takes these characters that are often from parts of America that are typically very stereotyped and that there's a lot of preconceived notions about. Typically, his films surround sex work in one way or another, people from lower income areas. And what I love is he makes these characters so human and relatable and is willing to showcase their flaws, but also showcase the fact that they're real human beings. And there's just a beauty and an empathy behind Sean's work that makes me love him so much as a filmmaker. And I saw the trailer for this and immediately wanted to see it. Hearing all the buzz about Mikey Madison and the possibility of her winning an Academy Award for this movie just made me want to run and see this immediately. I'm so glad I finally watched it. And the film I'm going to be discussing with you today is Anora. Anora is directed by Sean Baker. Anora, a young sex worker from Brooklyn, gets her chance at a Cinderella story when she meets and impulsively marries the son of an oligarch. Once the news reaches Russia, her fairy tale is threatened as the parents set out for New York to get the marriage annulled. So, like I said, I love Sean Baker. I've been looking forward to watching this movie for quite some time now, and this movie is masterful. It is absolutely incredible. It feels like the kind of movie that just doesn't get made anymore, honestly, and I love Sean for that. I feel like every time I watch one of his movies, he surprises me in one way or another, and this movie is just, it's such an entertaining 2 hour and 20-minute runtime that never feels like it overstays its welcome. It's constantly entertaining. It's hilarious. It's heartbreaking. It's thoughtful. It's just everything you could possibly want in a modern day movie. And I'm so excited to discuss it today because I feel like there's a lot to unpack, and I'm really looking forward to talking about some of it with you today. So at the beginning of the film, we are introduced to our lead character, Anora, played by Mikey Madison. And we see her working at this strip club, and she's really good at her job. We see her early on. She seems to be one of the most popular workers at this club, and we get introduced to the people that she works with, get a little bit into her life, where she lives. She seems to live at a house with her sister. She goes back and forth between her job, and one day Ivan, or Vanya, played by Mark Eydelshteyn, shows up at the club, and he immediately just fawns over Anora, and they spend some time together, and he tips her really well, and he ends up leaving, and he comes back again, I think the next night or a couple days later, and he just keeps coming back until eventually he wants to spend time with her outside of the club, and he offers her a decent amount of money, and so she comes over, and she's blown away at the fact that he lives at this luxurious mansion and seems to have more money than he can know what to do with. And at first he pays her, I believe, $15,000 to stay with her for an entire week and kind of take a break from her job and just be his live-in girlfriend. And she does, and you can tell, like, from the way that she sees him early on, she sees him as kind of like a goofball. He's not all there. He seems to be very much in touch with his youth. I think he's in his early 20s, but she's kind of charmed by his free-spirited nature, even though he's kind of not all there. And she just can't believe that she's able to do all these luxurious things and spend time with him without having to worry about money. And he ends up taking her to Vegas, and while they're in Vegas, he proposes and they get married. Well, after they get married, things are seemingly normal until his parents find out, and his father is a very powerful man in Russia. His parents do not like that they got married, and they want the marriage annulled. And the entirety of the film is what happens after the Russian family finds out about their married, and will this marriage between these two people who've just met actually survive. So I loved this movie, and I could probably make a 40-minute video just breaking down each and every piece as to what I love about this movie, but I'm going to keep it very simple. For starters, let's talk about performances. Give Mikey Madison the Oscar right now. There's no point in even considering anyone else. This is the performance of the year. She just eats up every second of screen time in the most brilliant way possible. The accent that she took on for the movie is just incredible. Her mannerisms, body movements, the way she does her dances, just the amount of time, effort, and energy put into every single facet of this performance. It's just incredible. And there's so many amazing one-liners from Mikey Madison in this movie that I just want to go back and watch it again already, just because of how mesmerized I was by her amazing performance. And I love movies that are performance driven, and I love movies where someone can really shine. And she is phenomenal in this. Mark Eydelshteyn, who plays Vanya, is also really great. He has to compliment Mikey Madison's performance, which is going to be difficult because she's really just incredible throughout the entire movie. But he manages to play off of her really well. Their chemistry is really great. And I think the way their relationship develops over the course of the film, it's really fascinating to watch. This is a really great ensemble cast, and all of the people that work for the Russian family that show up, there's just so many amazing performances that you can pick out. And what's great is it all feels authentic. None of it feels like overblown Hollywood schlock. Like, it's goofy in moments, but all of it feels very feasible for the situation that's going on, which is something that I can really appreciate. As per Sean Baker's usual, the movie looks gorgeous. The cinematography is breathtaking. I really love the contrast in color, especially early on, the colors that are used in the club. There's a lot of vibrant, like neon, there's blue, there's red, there's all different incredible colors that kind of show Anora in her atmosphere and thriving and what she's really good at this job. And then when she gets out into the real world and goes back to her house, it's very bleak and monotone. And Sean Baker really knows how to contrast with those things. And early on in the film, when they go to Vegas and they do all of these different things, the color palette is very vibrant and there's a lot of attention to detail on how it looks, where when shit hits the fan and stuff starts to get real, it gets monotone again. It's very bleak. It's a lot less colorful. And I think having complementary cinematography to the themes that your film is trying to convey, it's so incredibly important. And you can tell Sean just pays so much attention to detail to every little facet in the film. I also loved the utilization of music in this. I feel like Sean always does a really great job putting music in the right places, even when he uses like more popular music to just accompany specific scenes. It just kind of takes you on a roller coaster ride. And that's really what this movie is. It's a roller coaster ride. And I love how much visual symbolism that's in this movie. Like one of my favorite scenes in the entire film is when the two get married and they're running around Vegas and they're running down the Vegas Strip. And there's obviously that like LED screen and there's all these fireworks going off, and it's like, is this the illusion of happiness? Is this like these fireworks are going off and it's this celebration of like, oh, we're getting married, but is it actually real? Can this survive? And I love that Sean pays so much attention to detail in all of those little elements to complement what he's trying to go for. I love the fact that this movie portrays sex workers. I think Sean does such an amazing job throughout his career portraying sex workers and making sex workers feel like human beings. There are so many movies that look at sex work through this very like fairy tale lens, and it's a very real part of life. And I love that the way Sean portrays Anora's character and the other women that work at this club as human beings. And like this is a job that they go to make money, and Anora is very good at her job, and she makes a good amount of money for what her job is. And I love that about the movie, is showcasing sex work in a very authentic light. And I just loved everything about this film. This has been getting a ton of praise, and I think it's really deserving. But I also have seen some reviews that talk about Anora's character and how people kind of wanted more backstory or an understanding rather than just like the situation that she's in, making enough money to survive off of the bare minimum that she's going to make from her job or whatever she gets. And then like a little bit about her family, her mom living in Miami. We get little bits of information. And I want to say that if that's the biggest problem that you have with this movie, I think you completely and totally misunderstand Sean Baker as a filmmaker and what he tries to do with his movies, because this is the case in every one of Sean's films. What Sean is trying to do is he's trying to paint a picture of areas of America that aren't necessarily as explored in film and things that people don't necessarily pay as close attention to. And so what he does is he creates these incredibly captivating characters that we get just enough backstory that we also can empathize with those people, or people that have seemingly shared experiences can view themselves through that lens. And I don't think her character needs more than what is given. I think this is a very base level human story of a person who does a career that's often very stereotyped, but she does it because she's good at it and she enjoys it and she wants to just make a day-to-day living, and she's not living in luxury, she's just getting by. She gets the opportunity of this lifestyle where she might not ever have to work for anything again the rest of her life. It is so enticing to think about what could life be like if I didn't have to work every single day. And she looks into that life, and then the reality of, well, what if this isn't possible, and being grounded back to earth in the reality that this might not work. And I think that it's such a simple but beautiful human story of desire for wanting more out of life, but that's not necessarily the reality that everyone gets. And in fact, it's the reality that most human beings experience, is that yes, you have to work every single day to get by, to live in this society that we live in. Sometimes you have to take jobs that aren't necessarily as good as other jobs. Sometimes you have to take jobs that are really hard work. I can't imagine doing the type of work that Anora does, and the shape you have to stay in, and learning these different dances, and being like, incredibly personable and charming, and worrying about your own safety, making sure there's enough of a barrier there for people to understand. And I think that there's so much that you can pull just from this very simplistic understanding of this character. But I do think there's more depth than a lot of people are giving it credit for. And I think it's all about whether or not you want to pay attention to that. And this movie just really left a lasting impression on me. I feel like the last scene of the movie is so hauntingly beautiful, as per Sean Baker's usual. His movies always move me quite a bit. I just always think about that last scene in the Florida Project that just rips me to pieces every time. And the last scene in this movie really tore at my heartstrings, and I thought it was so beautifully done. And I think this movie deserves a lot of awards recognition. I think it's brilliant. I think it's the type of movie that I want to see made now. I want to see these types of movies being created. And I think if you have any hesitations about watching this movie, don't have any. Just go watch them, enjoy it, laugh, cry, be moved, just appreciate this beautiful work of art. So have you seen Anora? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was incredible. I'm not going to stop thinking about it for quite some time. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.